The deck profile. So it's 44, I believe. It's a fair bit of cards, but I think I went a bit heavy on the Mimighoul stuff. So let's just get right into it. Play 3 dragon. This is like a mandatory 3 of, have to play 3. It just gets you like every piece of your board that you have, like all your spells traps just does everything, right? The flip effect of it is kind of mid, but that's fine. We're not really using it for the flip effect. Other 3 of Fairy, best extender in the deck. Just if you control a Mimighoul, summon it to your field. Or you can summon it to your opponent's side of the field, face down, to flip face up. They can't activate the effects of special monsters from the hand. Came up randomly against a Mimighoul player today. That's the only 3 elves we play. It's only those 2. We then play 2 Slime and 2 Archfiend. We'll start with Slime. Slime is the probably the brickiest one, the one you don't want to see. But you play 2 because we're playing 3 Maker. So the idea with Slime is that you go Maker, reveal, Slime, Archfiend, and more or less, like if you get Slime, you just get like if you start with Dragon, get Maker, summon, reveal, Slime or Archfiend. If you like get Slime, they get Archfiend, you get Slime. That's still like a free body. That's still a free rank one that can go into like a master, and you can maybe do some play from there. But ideally, you want them to get Slime, and then you to get Archfiend. You summon it off the Maker, and then flip it up, and then you get a body. The Slime comes back to you, and you get a free body from the deck. It's very good. So only 2. Archfiend's flip effect is also very powerful as well. So even if you give it to your opponent, it hand rips them, and you draw a card. It's essentially a pot of greed in terms of advantage, not in terms of direct hand advantage, but in your opponent takes a card out of the hand, you get a card. It's more or less a pot of greed in that regard. We're then on 1 armor. This is just an okay extender. I wouldn't play any more than 1. And 1 master 2. I don't play Cerebus. Cerebus is like the worst main deck name. Because it doesn't have its own summon effect to summon to your field. This one does, and it has even a slightly better effect. And only the 1 master, because in theory you can, even if you like hard draw it and you like link it off or something, you can like throw and reborn it. Some lists play 2, which I definitely agree with. I don't see a big issue in playing 2. Definitely if you want like 5 normal summons, I could get that. But you have like all of these are theoretically normal summonable. I just honestly don't see the point. I see the point in playing 2, but I would personally rather just play the 1. I think 4 normal summons with all of these other cards that are perfectly fine normal summons by themselves with other names, it's totally fine. So that's it for the Mimighoul monsters. Moving on to the spells. Mandatory, we play 3 dungeon. Probably the reason the deck is good. It says Mimighouls that were not summoned this turn gain attack equal to the defense, which doesn't sound that good until you realize that most of the defenses are like bigger than 1500. So Dragon, for example, is a level 1 that goes to 2500 attack. Archfiend goes to 1900 attack. Master goes to 3k, which is insane. On a level 4, they get really big, just for doing nothing. It's honestly pretty nice. But the main effect of it is the lockdown effect, the stall effect. So if you don't know how this card works, it says if your opponent controls a face-down monster, they cannot normal summon or declare attacks with special summon monsters this turn. So that shuts down a lot of decks, because especially if you like have opened the Kashtira stuff, and you've gotten to a Fiendsmith line as well, and you set up the Mimighoul lock, then that's like 3 or 4 interruptions. That's pretty solid. And bonus points if you give them like a dragon as well to nuke their board. It's pretty good. And now we're also playing 3 Maker. This is like the best and the worst card in the deck at the same time. It's E-Tally, but it's like really RNG. So what it does is you reveal 2 flip monsters in your deck, and your opponent randomly chooses one of them to summon to their field face down, and you get the other one to your hand, and then you get to summon a Mimighoul from your hand. So, I mean, it sometimes works. Sometimes back in like before the new support, you were just kind of going Dragon, Archfiend, hope for the best. But now you like if you get Slime or Archfiend, it doesn't really matter which one you get. It's still just a free body. Ideally, there's obviously giving them Slime is big, but in locals today, I only got only once, like I only gave my opponent the Archfiend once. Just it's at complete randomness. It's honestly just completely random. When they're playing one fork, this is a bit of a win more card. It says your opponent, you target a face-up monster your opponent controls, and then they get to choose if they either send that monster to the grave, and I draw 2 cards, or they flip it face up. Usually, weirdly enough, they go for the draw 2. I don't know why, because that's literally pot agreed. I'm like, okay, I will literally take a pot agreed, thank you very much. And they think it's like some sort of downside with like them not having a monster anymore, but like big whoop, you know? I'm still just making like a full Fiend Fifth combo anyway, it doesn't matter. The Grave Effect is another copy is fine. It's a win more card. You don't need to play it. If you want to play it, you can. You can totally cut this card. 100% cut this card. And then we're also playing 3 Room, because it honestly feels weird playing 3 of this card, but you've really got to. So how the lock works is if you have Dungeon up on the field, right, and you Room on your opponent's turn, because the monster you summoned to their field was summoned this turn, they can't change the battle position. So it's because it's face down, they have to tribute over it, or they have to fuse with it as material or whatever, right? They can't link it, they can't Xyz it, they can't synchro it, they can't flip it face up manually, they can't do anything. So, and bonus points, it also Book of Moons if they've already like summoned a monster. Yeah, it's pretty good. So that's it for the Mimighoul main deck cards. And then moving on to side engine, we're playing 2 Engraver, 1 Lacrima, 1 Tract, and 1 Lorry. So what the ideologic thing with like what Snake Eyes is doing now, for example, is they're only playing like these guys. Like they just play the 2. They don't play any of this stuff. And the idea is because this is their Snake Eyes combo, which is they can get to a lot easier. They can just make this anyway, and these aren't really doing much by them. Like especially these 2 aren't doing anything by themselves. And like the Tract Grave Effect never comes up. Like seriously, when are we Tract making Desiree? Never. I've never seen that happen before. It's theoretically possible, but you're never seeing it happen realistically. But I decided to play this because you don't always have the engine, or the gas, sorry, to make the Close Heaven. So sometimes the extra copies come up. In a grind game deck like this, it definitely matters having extra copies. Speaking of grind game engine, we're playing a Cashier engine. So we're playing 1 Fenrir, 3 Unicorn, 1 Wraitsoth, and 1 Birth. This is, again, what kind of like what Snake Eyes doing was last format. Where they were just playing this Castera engine, and with Unicorn, it's just like, you're just link material. Like, it's a semi-decent effect that generates you 1 piece of link material. It's not bad. And Wraitsoth is just a field spell that you can piss off for your normal field spell, just to get, it's essentially ROTA. Pretty much just essentially ROTA with some attack gain involved. You could maybe play a second Fenrir, but honestly, if you just like have all 3 pieces, for example, and just add like Fenrir, or this could be Fenrir as well. This is just Birth Reborn the Fenrir. Like, it's not a big deal a lot of the time. Bonus points if you draw Fenrir and Birth. You're just good at the game. So that's it for engine. Moving on to non-engine. We have Bestials. These were shifters originally, but I found that the Graveyard interaction that I had in my deck was a lot more important than the Bestials were. They were a lot more important than a lot of people were putting them on for. Like, the Room has the Graveyard effect to banish it from the grave and bounce any number of Mimighouls to your hand for no downside. Like, you can summon them back to your opponent's side of the field. You can keep them, whatever the hell, right? And I found that Bestials is, again, a better grind game. Like, in the Fiendsmith variant as well. If I was playing Pure, I'd probably play Shifter. But with the Fiendsmith stuff, Shifter kind of shuts down your Fiendsmith stuff too. And Bestials kind of can maybe help you contend it a little bit with other Bestials. Maybe. I think the best non-engine in the deck is Book of Eclipse. This card has so many interactions in this deck. Oh my god. Like, it's good going first and second. It just a lot of the time when it resolves, your opponent just passes turn and they draw like 50 cards. But it's also very good because if your opponent controls the face down Mimighoul on their field and you this, it only flips up the monsters that were flipped down by the effect. So it stays face down, which is huge. Because it comes back to you and you just flip it face up with like one of your effects, like normal summon an Archfiend or special an Archfiend or whatever. Just flip it face up. It's crazy. And flipping your Mimighouls face down as well is kind of funny because if your opponent can then like flip them face up like manually, it very rarely happens, but you never know when you're going to run to a Sol and Luna. And then we're playing the one Call by the Grave. Honestly, you could probably cut this card. It's just a flex spot. Terraforming because we're playing field spells. One Thrust and 2 talents. You could probably play a second Thrust. In Pure, I'd definitely play 2 Thrust. But you could maybe cut like this and play a second Thrust. Like, because your opponent is most of the time going to control a monster, Thrust is online pretty nicely. You don't really have a target. You don't have a target. Like, Room's a pretty good target for this. But you can pretty much just get whatever you want, because most of the time your opponent is going to have a monster in the field. Extra deck. Fiendsmith stuff, very boring. You already all know how this stuff works. We're not playing the DDD crap. That shit sucks. We're not wasting resources just for nothing. Like, I feel like in this deck, you don't have the gas to make both, and you also don't have the room to make both, so it's honestly a little bit silly, playing both. I don't even side it either. I would just stick with Desiree. Desiree just does it in every matchup. Just clutches every single matchup. It's so good. We're then playing Nightmare Griffin. This is here because I call it the Overkill lock, where it's essentially a beefed up version of the regular Mimighoul lock. So what it does is you set up your Mimighoul lock with room and dungeon, and then if you also make this, they can't activate the effects of special summon monsters. And then if you just room summon to the zone the Griffin points to, they can't summon anything to the zone it points to. So they can't. So on top of not being able to normal summon or attack with special monsters, they can't activate the effects of special summon monsters. And usually you're making this with IP as well, so it can't be showing card effects. It's a bit overkill. It came up like once in a game today, where I made it. But like it's just an overkill. Honestly, most of the time the regular like Mimighoul lock is just enough, but you definitely still would play this. Sometimes the graveyard set 2 and a grind can come up because you can set your own room back to the field. It's pretty good. IP, SP, pretty self-explanatory why these are played. Underworld Goddess to out Towers monsters. I came up against a Pearly player today. Card's crazy. And a Memento player. Bonus points as well. The secret tech choice. If you are the biggest Giga Chad, right? You use Closed Moon's effect. You use the effect of it. Target a monster your opponent controls. And then if you link summon a link 5 monster this turn, you can use that monster as material. And then with Underworld Goddess, you can use another monster your opponent controls as material. So you can use 2 monsters they control as material, your own Closed Moon, and 1 monster you control. These 2 are insane together. Absolutely insane. Just so free. Absolutely so free. But they're also playing the 1 Anima because almost every monster you're playing is level 1. That's it for the links. We're then playing 2 Giant. It just says if it succeeds summoned, you add a Mimighoul card from deck to hand. It just kind of grabs you the piece of the lock that you're missing. There's also for some ungodly reason, there's a burn effect attached to this that blows up cards. No clue why. They give the second win in time card. Absolutely no clue. We're then playing 1 Throne as well. All this says is just you detach a material, summon Master from the deck, and bounce a card in the field. Pretty much all it does. 1 Embodiment of Crime. If you people are idiot, you people watching, if you buy Embodiment of Punishment over this, you are the dumbest human being ever. Embodiment of Punishment is the exact same card, except it looks a little bit cooler. The artwork's a little bit nicer, right? But it's like triple the price. This card is $8 Australian, right? Embodiment of Punishment is like 15. Why is the card like almost double this? They're literally the same card. There's zero difference between them. It's like no exaggeration. They are word for word. They're the exact same. Word for word. If you own the rich one, it's just a flex. Like, you just have too much money if you own the expensive version and you bought it. With them playing the Lyrilusk and the Zeus as well. Because, I mean, it's your deck's level 1s. You need to do it, you know what I mean? Side deck. 3 Judgment. Best card in the side deck, 100%. Came up in so many games. So many games. 1 Tikaboo. This card is also really, really good. Because you can just play under it. Like, that's about it. This card just shuts down a lot of decks in the format right now. With them playing 3 Cosmic for some back row removal. And 2 Lightning Storm. Just board breakers. Honestly, these should probably be evenly matches, I'm not going to lie. But with Bestials, these should probably be evenly matches, definitely. 3 Ash Blossom. We're not maining it. Siding it honestly came up a fair bit today. I wanted to play Eclipse over this, and I didn't want to side the Eclipse because I thought it was too good. So I decided to side Ash. Then we're siding Shifter because decks like Snake Eyes exist, and they don't really lose to Bestials. They get hit by Bestials, but don't lose to Bestials. This makes them lose to Bestial. Lose to their own deck. And that's 15. That's the deck. So I was really